You're listening to the Retire Coast podcast, where money, business, and lifestyle come together. Join us each week as we explore smarter financial planning, starting and growing businesses, and building the life you want at every stage, from millennials and Gen X to today's retirees. And now, here's your host, serial entrepreneur, author, and financial guide, Bill Anderson.
Welcome once again to RetireCoast.com's podcast. We're going to talk today about a subject that affects literally every adult, and that is tipflation in restaurants, why you're paying more and how to push back. Now, this is an interesting article. It's actually been written about frequently in the last probably 6 months or so. Fox News had something on there, but I've been thinking about it for quite a while because I eat out quite a bit, and the idea of being almost forced to pay a higher amount as a tip for regardless of type of service, poor service, no service, that kind of thing, is pretty outrageous, I think. Now, I believe that the servers are, in a job where they need to work hard, just like the rest of us, and make a few bucks. The difference is that inflation has already protected their income. It's something better than I ever had. I might have gotten a 3 or 4 or 5% raise during a year, whereas if inflation went up for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6%, then a server is going to make that just on a standard tip, whether that tip is 10% or 15%. So there's no reason to raise that amount. Well, we're going to get into this, and you're going to be surprised at some of the information that we uncovered in our research about what's going on out there, particularly with these point-of-sale machines that are trying to push you to pay up to 30%. So please listen to this dialogue that follows and enjoy it. I hope that it helps you make some decisions in the future and not feel social pressure to do something that you don't feel you really need to do. And those for the young people who just can't really afford it, going out is a luxury today, but paying too much for a tip, that's an even greater luxury that you don't necessarily need to do. So please listen and come back to Retire Coast and read the entire article that we have published at RetireCoast.com, where we have over 200 articles on topics that I think you're going to be very interested in. A lot of them are lifestyle and finance, similar to this one here. So thank you for coming, and listen to our dialogue that follows right about now.
Welcome back to The Deep Dive. We take the source material you send us and, we try to make sense of it all. Turn complex stuff into knowledge you can actually use.
Yeah, clear, actionable knowledge.
Exactly. And today we're hitting something that I think gets under everyone's skin a bit. It's that moment you pull out your card and boom, tipflation.
Tipflation, right? It's that feeling, like it's not really optional anymore. It feels like this mandatory surcharge just tacked on.
Yeah, it's aggressive how those suggested percentages have climbed. What used to feel like a thank you now feels more like a tech-driven tax.
That's a good way to put it. A high-tech tax on your dining experience.
So our mission today, pretty straightforward. Let's unpack how tipping went from like a voluntary nice job to this thing you feel obligated to do.
We need to trace the deeper reasons. The tech, this new tax law we found, just plain old inflation.
Right. All these things fueling the fire. And crucially, we want to give you some ways to push back, take back some control without stiffing someone who actually gave you great service.
Absolutely. And the historical shift. It's kind of wild when you lay it out.
Okay, yeah. Hit me with the timeline.
Well, think about it. 1985, maybe 10, 12%. That was considered generous.
Right, I remember that.
Then by, say, 2000, 15% was pretty much the standard. Solid.
Okay.
But now, you look at those screens, those tablets. They often start at 20%. Sometimes 25, even 30% suggested right there.
And that's happening while the actual cost of the meal itself has, tripled? More?
Exactly. It's this double whammy.
Yeah.
The base price is way up, and the expected percentage on top of it is way up. It's a pressure cooker.
Which explains why people are starting to feel, tip fatigue, as the sources call it. We saw that Fox Business report citing toast data.
Ah, yeah, the toast data.
Yep.
Showing that average tips, at least in full-service places, actually dipped a bit.
Yeah, slipped from 19.8% back in 2021 down to 18.8% by late 2024. It's not a huge drop. But...
No, but it's significant. It signals something, right? Like this quiet, maybe subconscious resistance starting to bubble up. People are noticing.
Mm-hmm. And maybe starting to push back, even slightly.
And it connects, interestingly, to the whole sort of odd history of tipping in the U.S. anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like this.
It wasn't originally an American thing, right? We got it from Europe.
Correct. Imported, 19th century. And honestly, it faced a lot of pushback here initially.
Really? Why?
Well, a lot of Americans just rejected it. They saw it as like fundamentally undemocratic or something that just reinforced class differences, like you were paying a little bribe to get decent treatment.
Huh. That's ironic. We resisted it because it felt classist, and now it's this, like, universal expectation.
Exactly. It's flipped completely.
So how did that happen? It started out as just spare change, right?
Okay.
For really standout service.
Absolutely voluntary. A genuine thank you. The standards evolve slowly, 10% maybe in the 50s, 60s.
Yeah, okay.
By the 80s, you start seeing 12 to 15% become more standard.
Yeah.
You even saw corporations kind of setting that 15% cap in their expense policies.
Right, the business lunch standard.
Yeah. But today, man, the definition of what counts as service has gotten so broad, while the expectation, the percentage, has just exploded.
And that feels like the core of the frustration for a lot of people, doesn't it? Like, historically, you tipped the person who actually served you. Your waiter, the taxi driver, maybe the bartender.
Direct physical service, clear interaction.
But now, it feels like tipping follows you absolutely everywhere, even places where you're doing the work.
Oh, totally. You pick up your own takeout, and bam, there's the tip screen. You pour your own coffee, tip screen, order online for pickup later, tip screen.
In those cases, you, the customer, are doing half of the job, sometimes more.
But the expectation is still there. It's really morphed, hasn't it? From that voluntary thank you into this quasi-mandatory surcharge that just seems to be part of every single transaction now.
Okay, so if we're talking about what's driving that expectation, what's making it unavoidable, we got to talk about the machine itself. That tablet on the counter, the point of sale system.
Ah, the POS.
Yeah. What exactly is it doing? How did this piece of tech become like the villain of the tipping story?
Well, it's pretty clever, actually, in a way. It's engineered psychology, pure and simple.
Engineered psychology.
Yeah. These systems, Toast, Square, Clover, whichever, they're designed very intentionally. The prompts they show you, they steer you towards higher amounts.
Oh, so.
They know how people behave. If you present someone with options like, say, 20%, 25%, 30%, most people feel weird hitting the lowest one or no tip. So they gravitate towards the middle option. 25% in that case.
Ah, the path of least resistance.
Exactly. The software is essentially engineering a higher average tip. It's nudging you psychologically to pay more than maybe you would have if you just did the math yourself.
And I think we've all been there, that awkward moment, the tablet spins around, maybe the barista or server is kind of watching.
Oh, yeah.
And you're staring at 20, 25, 30%. That guilt tipping, that's a real thing the designers count on, isn't it?
Absolutely. 100%. Those prompts, especially when someone's watching or there's a line behind you, it creates instant social pressure.
You feel put on the spot.
You do. They're banking on the fact that you'll pay more than you maybe thought the service warranted, just to avoid that awkwardness, to avoid looking cheap by hitting custom amount, or, God forbid, no tip.
And for the restaurant owner, this must seem like a genius move.
Well, from a purely business standpoint, yeah. Think about it. Higher tips mean happier servers, better retention maybe.
Without the restaurant having to actually raise wages on their own payroll.
Precisely. The customer pays the difference. And the POS companies, they actually market this. They sell these systems partly by promising restaurants, hey, our system will lead to higher tips, better employee satisfaction.
Wow.
It's basically a wage subsidy program funded entirely by the customer, facilitated by the tech. And meanwhile, the POS company is taking its cut, its processing fee, on that bigger total amount.
Okay, that makes sense. And it connects to the whole economic picture here, which seems to be fueling a lot of the resentment. It's not just the prompts. It's, well, inflation is hitting everyone. But the sources suggest servers' total pay is actually climbing faster than a lot of other jobs.
That's right. The numbers are pretty stark. Wages in food service, up over 35% in the last 5 years or so.
Okay, 35%. And for the overall workforce?
Closer to 20% growth in that same period. So a significant gap.
And tipping.
Yeah.
It kind of supercharges that gap, especially with inflation, right?
It really does.
Yeah.
Because inflation itself gives tipped workers a sort of automatic raise, even if the percentage stays the same.
How does that work? Explain that. Like, it feels counterintuitive when most people feel inflation eating away at their paychecks.
Okay, look at it this way. Let's use the example from the research. Say back in, 2005, you had a $50 meal. A standard 15% tip was $7.50. Pretty straightforward.
Right. $7.50.
Now fast forward. That same meal, due to all the inflation in food costs, labor, rent, might easily cost $90 today.
Easily. Probably more in some places.
Probably.
Yeah.
But let's stick with $90. Now, even if you still tip the old standard, 15%, that tip is now $13.50.
Ah, okay. The tip amount went up automatically just because the meal price went up?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Almost doubled in this case. But now add the POS nudge. If that screen pushes you from 15% to, say, 20%.
Then 20% on $90 is $18.
$18.
Yeah.
Compared to the original $7.50. So the system itself, just through inflation and the percentage creep, guarantees compensation goes up, often faster than wages in non-tip jobs.
Okay. That's the pure economics of it. But you mentioned something else earlier, a big systemic shift, a legal change, something about taxes.
Yes. This is huge. And it's something most diners probably have no idea about. It's a new federal income tax break. Kicks in July 2025, part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, as it's called.
Okay, a tax break for tipped workers. What does it do?
It's pretty substantial. Basically, tipped workers will be able to exclude up to $25,000 in tips from their federal income tax.
Wait, exclude $25,000 as in not pay federal income tax on the first $25K of tips they earn.
Correct. For the years 2025 through 2028, based on the current legislation.
That sounds incredibly significant. Let's put some numbers on that. Say a server earns $30,000 in tips. Before this, they'd pay federal income tax on all of it, right?
Yeah, roughly. Let's say they're in the 12% bracket. That's about $3,600 in federal tax on those tips.
Okay. And now, with this new rule...
Now, only the amount over $25,000 is taxed. So on $30,000 in tips, only $5,000 is subject to federal income tax. At 12%, that's just $600 in tax.
Whoa. So their federal tax bill on that tip income drops from $3,600 to $600. They save $3,000 a year, just like that.
Roughly, yeah. That's $3,000 extra in their pocket after tax. Now, compare that to, say, a retail clerk who also earns $30,000 a year.
The retail clerk pays federal income tax on the whole $30,000, no exclusion.
Exactly. So this creates a really significant compensation advantage for tipped workers compared to others earning similar amounts. The diner isn't just subsidizing wages anymore through tips.
You're also subsidizing a pretty hefty tax advantage.
That's the reality of it. It fundamentally changes the fairness equation for some people.
Okay, that's a bombshell. But there are other, maybe smaller ways the system extracts more money, right? These hidden things that inflate the base amount we tip on. The whole tipping on tax thing.
Ah, yeah, the double hit, as you called it. Yeah. This is one of those sneaky little things that adds up. Most POS systems calculate the suggested tip percentage on the total bill.
Total bill meaning including the sales tax. And maybe those credit card fees the restaurant adds.
Precisely. So you're tipping on the tax, which is money going to the government, not service. And you're tipping on the credit card processing fee, usually 2 to 4%, which goes to the bank or processor.
So you're literally tipping on costs that have zero connection to the service you received.
None whatsoever. Let's run those numbers again quickly. $100 meal, let's say $8 sales tax, maybe a $3 credit card or service fee some places add now.
Okay, so the screen shows $111 before tip.
Right. Now, if you hit that 20% button, the system calculates 20% of $111, which is $22.20. But if you mentally calculated the tip only on the food and drink, $100, that's $20 even.
So that mechanism just added $2.20 to your tip. Money paid purely on taxes and fees.
Exactly. It's not huge on one meal, maybe. But multiply it across millions of transactions. It adds up. And for the customer who notices, that's often when tip fatigue becomes active resistance.
Yeah, that feels manipulative. Like, okay, now you're really pushing it.
That's the feeling. That's often the moment someone decides, you know what? I'm hitting the custom tip button from now on.
Okay, so let's empower our listeners. Let's give them the tools. We pulled 4 concrete strategies from the sources for pushing back effectively but fairly. What's step 1?
Step 1, do the math yourself. Critically important. Don't just blindly trust the percentage buttons on the screen. Calculate the tip based only on the pre-tax, pre-C subtotal for the actual food and drink.
And what percentage should people aim for then, realistically, if they're calculating it themselves?
The sources suggest, 15 to maybe 18% for genuinely excellent attentive service.
Yeah.
And maybe closer to 10 or 12% for service that was just, average, transactional.
Right. Base it on the actual service, calculate it on the actual meal cost. Okay, strategy 2.
Strategy 2. Actively use the custom tip option. Don't be afraid of it. The system wants you to tap those big 20, 25, 30 buttons because it's fast and frictionless.
Yeah, it feels easier sometimes.
It does. But taking that extra second to hit custom tip and type in the amount you calculated, that makes the decision intentional. It puts you back in control, basing the tip on service quality, not software design or social pressure. Don't feel rushed or intimidated if someone's watching.
Own the decision. Okay, strategy 3.
Strategy 3 is about context. Know when not to tip. Remember, the original point of tipping, it's for service rendered to you.
So if you're doing the work yourself.
Exactly. Picking up takeout where you just grab a bag. Pouring your own drip coffee at a counter. A purely transactional exchange with minimal interaction. You are well within your rights to skip the tip prompt entirely in those situations. Tipping isn't required for self-service.
Good reminder. Okay, and the final one, strategy 4.
Number 4 ties back to the why. Reward attentiveness, not just basic presence. Don't feel obligated to tip generously for poor service. Ignored empty water glass. Forgotten side dish. Wrong order delivered with no apology.
Yeah, that doesn't earn 20%.
No. Generosity should be reserved for proactive service. The server who anticipates your need for a refill, checks back appropriately, handles a mistake quickly and professionally. That's what deserves a good tip. It brings tipping back to its real purpose.
Rewarding actual good service. Makes sense.
And one other interesting point, the sources brought up a potential counterweight from the corporate world.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, think about corporate expense accounts. Historically, many companies capped tip reimbursements at, say, 15%, if that's still the policy.
Then employees on expense accounts might resist hitting that 25% button on the POS because they'll have to pay the difference themselves.
Exactly. It's a small thing, maybe. But if enough business travelers are sticking closer to 15% because of policy, it could act as a subtle institutional brake on the relentless upward creep of the norm.
Huh. An unintended consequence, maybe. Okay, so wrapping this up. It's clear tipflation isn't just in our heads, it's real. Driven by tech, inflation, even tax policy now, and it's leading to real fatigue.
Widespread fatigue.
Yeah.
But the key takeaway is that the power ultimately still rests with you, the diner.
By being intentional, right? Knowing the numbers, doing the quick math on the pre-tax amount.
You can make sure your tip actually reflects the service you got, not just what the machine suggested or what you felt pressured to do. It's about reclaiming that intention.
And the data we started with shows people are starting to do this, even if quietly. That slipped from 19.8% down to 18.8% average tip.
It shows that quiet resistance is happening. People are adjusting, adapting.
Which leaves us with, I think, a pretty provocative final thought for everyone listening in the mull over.
Okay.
Given everything we've discussed, the POS nudges, the automatic raises from inflation, and now this massive $25,000 federal tax exclusion for tipped income, the system seems really tilted towards higher server compensation now more than ever.
It certainly appears that way.
So the question is, besides individual consumers like us deciding to hit custom tip, what other systemic force could possibly bring that cultural expectation of 20-30% back down to earth? Back to something that feels like a reasonable reflection of service, not just an entitlement.
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
Is intentional consumer choice, that quiet resistance, truly the only tool we have left to push back against all this engineered pressure?
A fascinating question, and one we'll all be answering, I suppose, one custom tip entry at a time. Thanks for digging into this with us.
Yeah, thanks for joining the deep dive. Until next time, keep looking at the details.